Hey everybody, I'm Mike Filsame, and this is Andy Jenkins. And in this video, we're going to share with you the details of a brand new and exciting software application called Webinarjam.
But before we show you how you can get your copy, let's talk quickly about webinars. As you probably know, the highest conversion from a visitor to a website and then to $1 in your shopping cart comes from using webinars, and more specifically, from using live webinars.
We're lucky to know a ton about the power of webinars because a few years ago, we created Evergreen Business System, which is hands down the best automated webinar system out there. Okay, we might be slightly biased, but the fact is, we've been conducting and helping thousands of other people run webinars for years.
Unfortunately, the current popular solution for live webinars, which is a product called GoToWebinar, costs around $500 a month. And even at that price, the maximum number of viewers you can have on a live webinar is limited to 1,000.
And with social media and email list sizes today, it's very likely you'll need more than that. Otherwise, people will get locked out and they'll send complaints. It just becomes a headache, and that's not to mention the lost goodwill and sales. But there really hasn't been any powerful alternatives, at least up until this point.
And my goodness, the cost of that software is $6,000 per year. That's crazy. Like I said, we're talking about a cost to you of $497 or $99 per month.
Plus, GoToWebinar uses old, outdated technology, which is quite frankly limiting in the places it counts, especially when you need to make sales.
Enter our new solution. It's called Webinarjam. And Webinarjam uses the most powerful live casting technology on the internet. Google Hangouts. You know, the same tech that El Jefe
Presidente
Obama
Bing Bing
has used to conduct webinars to the world. And he used it because this technology has the muscle to reach an unlimited amount of people.
Literally, we're talking about simultaneously communicating with thousands, tens of thousands, even millions of people, and do it live, in real time. It's whatever Google can handle, and we know they handle the world pretty good right now.
But there's just one problem with Google Hangouts. It doesn't have any sort of marketing or sales technology, not on the front end or the back end. Well, until now, that is, thanks to Webinarjam.
Webinarjam allows you to quickly and efficiently set up your webinar literally in minutes using one of our proven and tested different landing pages that are preloaded into the system for you.
Oh, and get this, you can use any type of video during your webinar that you want. You can have your face on your camera, a slideshow from, PowerPoint or Keynote, or anything that creates a presentation. You can use pre-recorded video, webcam video, doodle animations, anything that appears in front of your video camera or your webcam, or anything that your computer screen can display. All of that can be a source that you can transmit to your webinar attendees. It does it all.
Webinarjam makes it easy to use all of this power. It even automatically goes into the Google Hangouts dashboard and sets everything up for you.
That's right. You don't even have to create the Hangout. It does it for you automatically. And better yet, all within one administration dashboard. It's easy.
And here's a feature that will make smart marketers very excited. We're talking about having real control over how you make your offers on your webinar. Instead of the old clunky way of showing a non-clickable website address as your call to action, you decide which type of offer you want to run, which will then set up an interactive live clickable button that you can display at any time during the webinar. And hey, if you want to run multiple offers during the webinar, no problem. You'll have multiple buttons you can show to your viewers, and they can take action whenever you want.
Believe it or not, if you just use Hangouts, you can't even put a link in the chat box because it doesn't provide you with chat software. So there is no chat box.
We took care of this for you, and we've added built-in chat rooms, built-in polls, and even built-in surveys. You can use Webinarjam to run the traditional free webinars where you make an offer at the end, or paid webinars where you can charge a fee to watch your valuable content. And regardless of whether you decide to charge or not, your entire webinar will be recorded and set up for replays for people that missed your presentation. And that replay is set up instantly.
So once your webinar is over, every single attendee automatically gets email follow-up messages, as many as you like, customized to your satisfaction, right to a replay page that Webinarjam creates for you. Now, for those that don't show up, you can send them a separate follow-up sequence with separate marketing copy for those people individually. It's easy, it's fast, it's reliable, and it looks great. And as we said, this is your entire complete front-end marketing machine for Hangouts on Air.
It trumps anything and everything else on the market. And that's why over 15,000 people have already made the switch to Webinarjam, not to mention how truly affordable Webinarjam is. But let's make sure you know the full story. The only concern we had is that some people feel there is a small advantage with GoToWebinar because they let you dial in from a phone. You remember those things, right?
So think about it. When somebody is in the car on their smartphone and they want to dial in and attend your webinar, what do they actually have to do? They have to get the phone, find the email from you with the webinar dial-in information, open up that email, look at the number to call, and the access code they need to get on the call, then go back to the dial pad, try to remember those numbers, realize that they had forgotten them, and then go through the entire process again just to try to dial in and listen to your webinar.
They won't have that problem with Webinarjam because it uses YouTube streaming technology. It sends an email out with a link directly to the webinar. The webinar broadcast will load on any smartphone, iOS or Android device, or an iPad or an Amazon Kindle, and of course, any computer.
And when they click on that link, well, it just plays the video and the audio, so they can not only hear it like they could on a normal phone, they can also see it. That means when they're away from their office and on the go, now they have a choice. And that's something that GoToWebinar just can't do.
This universal accessibility is because Webinarjam leverages the power of a web browser, desktop or mobile. That means new devices like the new iPhone 6 or Samsung Galaxy, even the upcoming Apple Watch, will display your Webinarjam presentation. So once you click on the link, the webinar just automatically starts. And if they get in early, they get a countdown page so they know your webinar presentation is about to start. With GoToWebinar, they have to download the meeting software, and as you know, that can be very confusing. So it's no wonder why so many people don't show up for your webinars and leave before they even start. Webinarjam makes that issue a thing of the past.
Now, speaking of issues that Webinarjam puts an end to, have you ever been a webinar presenter and lost your internet connection? Yeah, that used to be ugly. You're delivering your killer presentation to hundreds of people, then all of a sudden, crash. Not only do you get the boot, so does everybody else on your webinar. When that happens, you're pretty much done. But not with Webinarjam. You see, Webinarjam's webinars are persistent.
That means that even if you or another presenter loses their connection, your webinar stays alive and your viewers are not kicked out. You just log back in and pick up where you left off.
We can go on and on about all the powerful marketing features we've packed into this thing for you, but we're confident by now you can see just how amazing Webinarjam is. I'm sure you can tell we're pretty excited to be sharing what we consider to be the world's most powerful and reliable webinar platform with you. And here's some of the best news.
Keep in mind that GoToWebinar costs $6,000 per year. And we're confident that the value and power of Webinarjam is worth at least that. But we realize lots of people would have found that very high price to be out of their range. So for a limited time, we've decided to do something special to help as many people as possible.
We're going to give you an opportunity to get Webinarjam, the full version, which is normally just $497 per year, for only $297 per year for a short time. Remember, this price is per year, not per month like some of the competition. And yes, that includes new features we add or any updates that we make during that full year.
So right now, what we want you to do is click the button next to this video and enter your details so we know where to send your copy of Webinarjam.
Okay, that's it. We will see you on the other side.